Hello, my name is Rob, and I will be talking about carbon storage because it is in the Environmental Registry. And to answer the question, is carbon capturing carbon a climate solution? The answer is no. And I will go over that after I look at the Environmental Registry notice. And then I'm just loading it up. So transition. The the notice is a discussion paper regulating commercial scale geologic carbon storage projects in Ontario. This has a number 019-8767, and you have until August 23rd, 2024 to make comments on this. It goes on to talk about what capturing carbon dioxide is. Talked about previous notices, and it's saying that carbon capturing carbon dioxide and permanently storing it in deep geological formations could provide industries in Ontario with a crucial tool for managing their emissions and contributing to the achievement of Ontario's emission reductions targets. I'm going to go talk about why that isn't the case necessarily, and they want to remove a prohibition on certain carbon storage activities from the Oil and Gas and Salt Resources Act. They did that in 2023. They're talking about different steps that they took. And they're in phase 3, which is development of commercial scale carbon storage projects in Ontario. They want to implement regulation to allow proponents to seek approval for special projects, including carbon storage. And then they talked about different regulatory frameworks, requiring storage, and there would be amendments to existing statutes and regulations. They're seeking feedback on the design of commercial scale regulatory framework in Ontario. And then they included some questions. They're saying that it would be neutral to positive. I disagree with the environmental impacts being neutral to positive. And then they're saying carbon storage is new to Ontario, and developing a comprehensive framework to regulate this activity would help ensure that it is done responsibly with measures in place to safeguard people and environment. Key Key to managing the risk associated with geological carbon storage, including minimizing the potential for leaks to surface or drinking water sources. Induced seismic events or interactions with other resource activities. So they acknowledge that there are all risks involved with this um, development. And then those two items, additional items, as well as past environmental notices. There's the geologic carbon storage. They say large quantities of carbon dioxide are generated through industrial processes as the production of cement, steel, and fertilizer from power generation during oil and gas refining, and as a byproduct of creating hydrogen from methane. So that's how carbon dioxide is formed. And then they're suggesting that one way of reducing the impact is from capturing carbon dioxide. They're saying that geologic carbon storage is necessary for economically achieving emissions targets and net zero emissions. There's evidence suggesting that that's not the case. Opinions, and I'll look at some of those opinions. And then it's talking about how carbon dioxide is stored. And depth is important. They say 800 meters. Did I highlight anything else? Oh, and then I'll go to the discussion paper. So this is the discussion paper. We'll see where I'm at. Okay, discussion paper. Regulating carbon scale geologic carbon storage projects in Ontario, July 2024. And then there's some backgrounds. There's where should commercial scale carbon projects be permitted to occur? It says not all underground geological formations are suitable for carbon storage. And some forms of geologic carbon storage are more technologically advanced than others. And most technically mature form of geologic carbon storage include storage in saline aquifers and storage in depleted oil and gas reservoirs. And then they're saying that southwestern Ontario is most viable because it's already associated with oil and gas production and geologic storage of other substances. They mentioned 800 meters or below as being more efficient than shallow depths. And the next question is, what type of commercial scale projects would be developed? The standalone carbon storage projects seek to store, there's two types. Standalone carbon storage projects seek to store the carbon dioxide produced by a single emitter within geologic formations. And then they say carbon storage hubs seek to store CO2 produced from various emission sources. And then they'll look at the safety record, operational expertise, regulatory experience, and financial history of someone proposing storage. The proponent's ability to ensure robust public and Indigenous consultation and build public confidence in the project moving forward. And in public consultation, Indigenous consultation is not the same thing as consent. Um, and I think there should be consent uh, involved. Um, Social, economic benefits, an evaluation of potential project impacts on agricultural system, including agricultural operation lands and agribusiness, total emissions reduction plan, provision of open access or storage partnerships with other indigenous industry members, business benefits to indigenous communities, and overall product economics. And then those talking about how people obtain rights to pole space and saying common law um, landowners typically own the subsurface below lands except where interests have been granted or leased or rights were resolved in the original grant. A boarder declared all pole space to be crown property. Um, what else did I highlight? Oh, how should proponents notify and engage with indigenous communities and other potentially affected parties? I think that there should be free, prior, and informed consent. Um, this says that they're to notify, engage, and consult. Oh, they're often required to. Other jurisdictions are required to notify, engage, and consult with indigenous communities. I think there should be free, prior, and informed consent. Proponents could be required to provide full cost financial assurance for the projects in the amount sufficient to cover costs associated with the closure of evaluation activities in commercial scale carbon projects, the abandonment and decommissioning of wells, the completion of site remediation, and post-closure monitoring and maintenance activities. How should closed projects be monitored and maintained over time? Long-term monitoring is important. This says that the process can take hundreds to thousands of years to occur to become permanently stored. However, a lot of jurisdictions only have 50 years, and um, corporations have not been around for thousands of years. I don't know um, any company that has been around for thousands of years. Some have been around for hundreds of years, but most have not. And I don't even know that many oil and gas companies being around hundreds of years. Um, and then they address some of that, like there's going to be decommissioned wells. So they say that it should remain with the operator after a facility has been closed. The responsibility for monitoring should remain with the operator. And then I wrote, what if they go bankrupt, no longer exist? And then my point, the point that I was concerned about was, however, as the timelines associated with ongoing monitoring and maintenance of storage sites last longer than individual corporation would exist, and so these responsibilities do not end up being transferred to the landowner. An alternative approach is operators could transfer responsibility for conducting long-term monitoring and maintenance activities to the government. So this might be cost prohibitive, I wrote. And that point is addressed later on. And then it says the ministry could establish a closure period, prescribed amount of time where the proponent would continue to monitor and care for the sites before being eligible to apply for a closure certificate. They can range from 10 to 50 years. That is very far away from the hundreds to thousands of years needed to monitor these sites. And I wrote that. They just said that it took hundreds to thousands of years. And then as far as like payments to taxes, I mean to the government, they're saying that there could be a stewardship fee sufficient to cover the costs associated with any responsibilities being transferred. But these sites are going to be potentially there for thousands of years. So it's still going to be a lot of money. The government's going to be stuck with these projects for a long time. And then they would be collected in annual installments throughout the project's life cycle and are often placed with a dedicated trust specifically established by a responsible government agency to fund post-closure responsibilities being transferred. And then there's some questions. And then question number 1, would initially scoping the framework to only allow commercial scale projects to store carbon dioxide with saline aquifers and depleted oil and gas wells in southern Ontario at depths of at least 800 meters or more meet industry's current needs and maintain public comfort in the development of these projects? Well, these projects are going to last for thousands of years. That's a concern that I have. And I'm not an expert in this, so I won't answer all these questions. And then, would you support using a competitive process to select projects looking to store carbon dioxide on Crown land? Why or why not? 3. How should proponents obtain rights to pore space? What are the benefits and challenges associated with adopting the models currently being used in Western Canada and the U.S. states discussed above? Would a staged approach to authorizing the carbon storage projects be desirable? If so, how should the authorities' authorizations be staged? When and how should potential impacts to the agricultural land base and agri-food network, example, operations, infrastructure, agribusiness, etc., be considered? How should, question number 6, how should proponents of commercial-scale geologic carbon storage projects notify and engage with Indigenous communities and other parties who may be affected by the proposed projects? Question 7. What operational controls should be put in place to help ensure commercial-scale carbon storage projects would be developed, operated, and decommissioned in a safe and responsible manner? And in question 8, would allowing proponents to transfer responsibility for the long-term monitoring and stewardship of carbon storage projects to Crown help ensure carbon storage? So that's the 8 questions. And I will talk about the articles. Transition. So I found this first article. Well, not really an article, a news, a letter to Justin Trudeau criticizing carbon storage from a bunch of environmental groups. They say that they have concerns about carbon capture, and they say carbon capture is not a climate solution. Uh, it delays transition away from fossil fuels. Propose it has environmental health and safety risks to Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities. Um, and yeah, those are the main things. And then they say pipelines can leak and rupture, resulting in asphyxiations of humans and animals. There could be contamination of drinking water and stimulation of seismic activity. They're saying that it's not consistent with environmental justice. Um, it would impose new pollution and safety hazards on Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities. Um, they say that carbon capture and storage only captures a fraction of carbon emissions and fails to address other harmful pollution from fuel combustion, such as fine particulate matter, as well as other contaminant from the underlying activities to which carbon capture storage was applied. And then the majority of carbon capture is used to obtain more oil, extract more oil and gas. And it ignores alternative methods. It doesn't remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere or downstream uses of carbon. Um, and then permanent storage is not backed by science or existing regulations. Um, it says that the U.S. federal regulations for uh, last only 50 years. And then they're asking to ensure that the environmental justice and human rights impacts and significant safety risks of carbon capture and storage are front and center in any hearings and policy discussions. They want to reject subsidies. Um, yeah, and then those. Oh, I'll go to the next item, which is coming up. Which is from the International Institute for Sustainable Development. Why carbon capture and storage is not a net zero solutions for Canada's oil and gas. Yeah, so it says that it doesn't address emissions from downstream uses. It is used to enhance oil recovery and facilitate more extraction. It's expensive compared to other solutions. Those seven operational projects, five of which relate to the oil and gas sector, and they're extending the life of mature fields, oil fields, by several decades. So more extraction. Um, there was one project that had original target of capturing 90% of coal plants' total emissions, but it never achieved this rate. And now it's approximately 50% of the plant's emissions. So it's so when it was sold, the emissions being captured were overestimated. Uh, and then there's lack of industry transparency and independent monitoring, and only about 0.5% of national emissions. Um, and 70% of captured carbon dioxide or carbon capture in storage facilities is used to increase the production of aging oil fields. Um, and then there's overpromised technology and underdelivered. And then I'm just going. Oh, I did highlight some other stuff. And then most carbon capture and storage facilities have a lot of government subsidies. And then they're saying methane reduction would cost a lot less um, than carbon capture and storage and be more effective. And then those timelines are not consistent with building a net zero pathway to achieve 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming. And then in the conclusion, there's no impact on 80% of oil and gas emissions that result from downstream use. And I'm just going to look. Okay, I'm going to transfer to the last item. The last item is carbon capture won't fix all climate problem in the National Observer. And it's from June Sikra. It's an opinion piece in March 20th, 2023. According to the IPCC's Working Group 3, this article says, according to the IPCC's Working Group 3 report, carbon capture is one of the least effective, most expensive climate change mitigation options on Earth. There's a quote, carbon capture is a placebo against oil and gas companies' story to tell about acting on emissions while they keep extracting and we keep burning fossil fuels. It would be more effective and faster to remove billions of tons of CO2 from the atmosphere is to restore, expand the carbon's sequestration capabilities of plants and soils. I agree with that. That is something that we're not doing. In 2020, people collapsed in their homes and trucks. This is from the article. Dazed and nauseous when the fast spreading odorless, colorless gas displaced oxygen, coal engines died, so people couldn't escape. Nearly 50 people were taken to hospital. So there is evidence to back up that pipelines do leak. And then there was some information about who June Sikra is, a public policy practitioner and researcher who contributed to the IPCC's report. Let's see, I'm just going to. Yeah, well, thank you for listening, and I hope that you consider writing about this environmental registry notice, your thoughts, and enjoy the rest of your day.